it's hot. I go to screen share and I pick. Okay, where'd that go? Here. You're not. We're on the wrong screen. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. Which one did I click the first time?
I don't know.
One
Try
or
that.
two.
Screen 1. No, you want to do screen 2.
Yeah.
Unless you could expand that one. Expand that one.
I could in a minute.
Oh.
What are we doing there? Well, it's there.
You would think.
Screen 1. Oh, stop.
That's screen. That's got to be screen. That's screen 1. There.
Sure.
Am I sure? No, I'm not sure of anything. I think that's.
Oh, here's the projector display. It says right up here.
Minimize it.
No. It's you. It says projector display. Let's move it on.
Yeah, no.
No. Well, it's just
That one, and just you don't need to make that. Yeah, but it's look it over here.
yeah. That's the.
That's fine.
No, it's not fine because I gotta get into my other screen here in order to.
Yeah, and you need to do that the other way.
Yeah.
We have 2.
Well, you just have to
Technology is a
drive.
wonderful thing. Too bad we don't know what we're doing.
Well, it's not me because I still don't have an email saying you guys announced I was doing this. Did you guys send them?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've had it for
A week?
Yeah, not me though,
Sent out.
because I just made the announcement
Yeah, well, no, we did it.
Monday.
No, it was more than Monday that we did it.
I can,
Did we?
I can pull it up and look, right? Yeah,
Nope, that's fine.
from the email, but yeah.
I think that was.
Richard Rhodes, whoever that guy is, he's gonna speak.
All right, let's see if
No. So Rich, did you go into leadership position or are you
well, that's what we got.
an engineer or what
It's
are you
not
doing?
full size, but
Manager of InfoSec. So there's 3 managers. One runs the SOC, one runs kind of audit compliance, and I run risk.
no, it's bigger. Yeah.
You know, we're going to integrate a $1 billion company into the business.
Or vice versa?
No. No. We have 1 full-time security person besides the
So
manager.
now we're just trying to figure out if we
A
can.
manager, director, and 1 worker.
Advance.
Good plan, no.
Director, worker B, open position.
Oh, there we go.
That's all they have.
I got it.
Where?
Okay, we're in Lake Flint.
They have 13 different brands and they're like 13 different states. And apparently they like the AS400
Yeah,
as a platform.
a lot of people, Cabela's has a whole pile of them.
That's too bad.
Yes, I need table.
I'm sorry. Curtis coming today, Mike?
What?
Is Curtis gonna come today? Have you heard from him?
Don't know, I haven't. He usually tries to, let's see what it,
Let's get on Eventbrite, say if you're registered with Eventbrite.
Well, if there's just two of us, we get a whole bunch of cookies.
Oh, boy. I gotta hold off on some of the treats. That's okay, I brought some yogurt. I figure
See what living good brings us to?
well, I had ice cream earlier. Gotta balance it out, right? I was on a pretty strict diet for a little while, managed to lose about 20 pounds. Now I kind of relaxed the restrictions a bit, but I still try to maintain most of the habits.
It's easy to lose weight when all you do is sit on your ass in a chair and punch the keyboard all day.
Yeah, if only my job were that easy.
Not everybody did it that way.
Yeah, if you work in IT and not in a factory. I said
Treats are provided? I guess it's been far too long since I've been to a meeting.
I sit in front of a keyboard and hit keys. I got a manager that thinks I'm screwing off. For some reason, he thinks I'm an idiot.
I know what that makes him.
I think he's projecting.
Yeah, I think so.
Just for the sake of the microphones are picking up our entire conversation.
And being
I hang out, so, you know.
That's why I haven't given any
Is
names
it
or
on the Hangout?
locations.
Yeah, we're on it.
Wait a minute, who else is on Hangout? We got Google and
Oh, I can mute the microphone. That might not be such a dumb idea.
What is it?
Hey, Mike, is Eric gonna be here?
No,
Scott,
he said he was.
our VP,
What?
our VP?
She said she was. But knowing the way Minnesota has decided that all freeways in the West End are under construction, who knows about the,
throwing a little rain out there just to keep it interesting.
like they say, we've got 2 seasons in Minnesota, winter and construction.
I got 14 people registered.
Have we dialed up the phone? Or we don't need one?
Why?
We don't need one.
We're already hot. Ceiling mics are picking up everything we're saying.
You tested that?
I can see the green bar dancing around, and I'm assuming that's what it's telling me.
So no, he hasn't tested it.
So watch
No,
what
that's
you're
good.
saying,
Yeah,
because
You-
the mics are
unless you
live.
wanna put your own credits in, then you don't have to.
Has anyone checked on the other end to make sure that they're actually receiving?
I'm doing it right now. As soon as I get it up.
Any,
We don't have anybody logged in. It says 0 viewers, so I guess there's nobody on the call.
I'm trying to resolve that.
Well, the thing went out kind of late, like this morning.
Yeah, because Bob doesn't know how to attach link to it. Here's a link to. That was.
So I didn't get that email
That
this
was
morning.
helpful.
I didn't get an email.
You didn't get an email? Well, you probably don't get an email now that you're not a board member.
No, but it should go out to the attendees,
Should go out to the
membership.
membership, and you mustn't be signed up for the,
I am.
are you signed up to receive email blasts online?
I got it twice.
I got you this, I got it checked out.
Oh, cool. I thought you were saying that. but
Yeah,
must not-
managed to get a Lenovo X200 for $100.
Did you have Liz send it out or something else?
He even threw in an extra 2
She
gigs
sent
of
it
RAM
out,
in there for me. Cool. Yeah, he's got a ton of stuff. He has a
Probably
server
around
there he's
10
going to sell for like $500-600. So I immediately called the campus and talked to Conjo
Oh, yeah.
and told him, hey,
They
gotta
well,
say
yeah,
something.
it's-
Did you
no,
make
the
sure it
first-
goes on the account?
Her
That
first
was,
test was,
and it's
next
it's
week.
nice.
We got one viewer.
You need to make sure, you need to make sure that goes out on the calendar too. Those links.
And, they do allow.
I'm not sure how
volunteer
far in
work there and
advance I
test
can
that on
create these
John.
bad boys. That's something I gotta look into, but. You know,
This
it's like
works,
how
I mean,
I
it's-
know
One by
and it saves us
Microsoft,
having
picked
to
up
buy a
a,
Polycom
1
too,
gig
if it was
internal,
lights.
or I mean, a 1 terabyte internal drive to swap.
Just make sure
out.
the link is updated on the calendar.
Yeah, the 160.
Oh, okay.
So now I'll have a terabyte on there, so I'll just partition it into 2 500s, one for.
Yeah,
47,
make sure
one
it's,
for
the link is on the calendar.
I'll
Yeah,
just-
I'll do
I'll just
that.
turn it into my
Figure out how to
mobile
get that.
penetration
It's your
testing
communications chair.
platform, so I don't always have to rely on Android stuff for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Don't put too much on it.
Hub that I'm gonna destroy the USB cable instead of to power the hub off my battery pack. I mean, I don't need a wall wart.
Zero success here.
How much presentation are you doing at the beginning, Mike?
Yeah, my thing hub,
Not much.
because I forgot a regular
Just a few
USB
things.
cable, so I had to use the hub to my OTG host cable. Just to get the tablet charging up. So it was down to 54.
We,
Are you
also
gonna
had
be-
a couple people mention that about the time again, where some people wanted to go 4 to 6. I don't know.
Gotta make sure it works with location, you gotta make sure the.
Yeah, that's the first thing is location. The second thing is whether it is better for people.
Cause next month you're gonna be at RSA's building. You could always see if they would be willing to host.
Well, it's easier, it's gonna be easier getting places at 3 than it will be at 4. By 4, it's gonna be, you know, we started mad.
Yeah. Budget's here. Well, Brooklyn Center's still a new campus. Yeah, but new relatively speaking. I mean, yeah, it's nice to get some hardware over there. Which is why we were pushing about the
Yeah, I just
server.
gave ITT and, you know, Center of Professional Development their
That's why I just went ahead and found a solution.
monthly tongue lashing about the fact they don't promote this better within their own building.
But, yeah. And Bart got a bunch of crap and passed it on to some of the other students, cause he sells the laptops and stuff for cheap. He's got a lot of stuff there.
Incoming message.
Thank you, Major.
Sure.
What's that?
My bag.
I just well, it wasn't raining.
You gotta try to pretend his wife sends him a text
It
or
only said
anything.
like up to
It's this
30%
helium
chance of
voice?
something.
Your wife sends you a message.
He's got it cranked up all the time, so if they sit there at a Cub Scout meeting having a conversation, all of a sudden,
There we go.
it goes, like, come on.
Went to Microsoft
Killing
for an
me.
hour and then I went up to Cold Stone. Did it, get some ice cream. Just rain, stop, rain, stop, rain, stop. Rain, pin me in the forehead. It's supposed to clear up.
Mike, do you attend, outside of ISSA, do you attend any other chapter meetings
Oh, yeah.
in town?
Lots of, Usually ISSA and usually OWASP.
Have you and Alex had a conversation? Because I know that they're interested in starting some type of CSLP class.
They, Alex has not showed up for meeting last year.
Oh, well,
The vice president's been there.
I think that would be interesting.
So the thing was wiped. I told you that had to work. Because I actually went to a caribou and I was working there. I told you that right away. It's delays and like. Yeah, they told them that. But they're like, here's what we'll do. If you want to give it, you pay for the.
Should we give it 5 more minutes or should we,
You're the president.
what do you want to start it or should we give it 5 more minutes, see if, because we've got 14 people signed up.
How many are online, Bob?
0 right now. The one we had in the room dropped off.
Awesome.
It was kind of a late announcement. People may not have got it.
Well, not everybody has Google Hangouts anyway.
What do you mean?
We gotta have a Gmail account for it to work.
No, not anymore.
Anybody can hang out?
Yeah.
That's nice. Very inclusive of me.
I think that.
That's actually opposite every direction Google goes, isn't it?
There he is.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's in the
Like there's other people talking about
So, we'll do the membership thing. Anybody here not a member of the local chapter?
Is it not member?
If you want to become, it's $20. The membership chair isn't here. Here's the application. And here's the man that takes the money, whether it's cash, check, or credit card. You did bring the square, right?
Oh, he's got it.
I was trying to get it to work, but I'll figure it out while he gives his lecture.
That's right, it is a lecture too.
Thou shalt build security into your software.
I gotta tell you. Security
Pilot
presentation,
applications,
you
you actually
see,
can't even touch security.
Test QA and fraud all the same anyway.
and that's, I found out that the password to
I'm a bit jaded.
connect the clients to their servers was password. And they put out an update to fix that, but they didn't change the password.
There you go,
Yes,
Chad.
yes.
Funny.
It's very optimistic side. Believe you might find.
Okay,
Saying that he hacked and stuff. It's like,
5 minutes
just
after?
changed the freaking password.
okay, I think we will start the chapter meeting off. Start off with, at the Security 360, someone, as they were closing up, dropped off 2 t-shirts. They're extra large from Force Scout. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Anybody want a t-shirt?
I can always use an extra t-shirt.
Well,
I think he had 2 over
Doesn't
here.
matter.
two went
Hey,
here
one.
first. There's 1, 2.
Nice, thank you.
But anyhow, like I
Make sure
said,
you ride that on the bike home.
Oh, yeah.
I could be. Yeah, that's always something good to show your wife.
No.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Okay, let's hit the, yeah, the next one.
There you go.
Welcome to the chapter meeting of the ISC Square Twin City Area Chapter, serving the greater metropolitan area. And back in the old days, we used to say Western Wisconsin. I think it's like Hudson and a few counties around there.
It's okay, we don't see them anyway.
The agenda today is a chapter update, upcoming events in the Twin Cities, and the presentation by Mr. Richard Rhodes, Manager of Information Security at BlueStem Brands.
Oof.
Start with election results. For you that don't know, we had election last time. I was actually elected for a term this time rather than just acting. So I will be your president for 2 years, pending any disaster. Amber Cashmark was elected vice president. She said she was going to be here, but she isn't here yet. And Bob Weiss was elected secretary. And because of the new officers, Scott is our treasurer. He doesn't get elected till next year. It's every other term. Other year.
One we at large is next year too, I think, right?
Yeah.
And,
Our large member actually resigned.
And Eric's role too is.
Yeah, Eric is our program chair. We changed the bylaws because they used to say you had to be an ISC squared member, corporate, to be an officer. Since we don't require membership to become a member of the local chapter, we changed the rules to say the president and 50% of the board must be members of the ISC squared, rather than all of them. And it's just to more fairly represent our members.
Mike, excuse me.
Yes,
What ISC squared?
The National International Organization.
the international organization.
Does that mean that 50% of the board does not carry a certification?
That means that
50% has to.
one
Guilty.
person on the board is not a member.
This is irrespective of certification.
Yeah, you have to become a member of ISC Squared International. You have to have one of their certifications.
Oh, you do? Oh, that was
And you have
my
to-
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
That's
have
the
one
only way
member
to
of the board
become a
that is
member.
not.
Yeah, makes sense.
We have probably 40% that is of our membership that are not certified.
Yeah.
And the idea of what we're trying to do is
Promote.
promote security.
I got it.
So this is just a way of saying you don't have to be certified to be on the board. Board reports, I'm the president. I think I basically said everything that I can say right now. This is what I had. We have a new secretary. You want to report anything?
No, the Google Hangout thing was my idea. It seems to be working okay. We do have 3 people online. Welcome.
Well, that's good.
And they can hear us?
Can they
Have we
hear us?
validated they can hear us?
No, but I see the little green lights flashing and it seems like it's working.
If it's not working, if you can't hear us,
Yeah.
send an email to the
board.
secretary
Yeah, yeah.
and
Or
I
at ISC squared, .org.
Twin Cities.
Yeah, tc.org, yeah. Okay, and if you do it now, I'll just check and make sure.
So if you can't hear
Yeah, I don't have anything to really do.
So if you don't get an email.
Report yet, but it's gonna be exciting and, you know, as soon as Rich and I get together and figure out what I'm supposed to know here. I took meticulous notes at the board.
Right, yeah,
Which is completely unusual, so.
treasurer's report, other than we're just doing well.
We have a positive balance, that's right.
We're at the blind.
To say,
It's good, and that's better than we were a couple years ago where we had almost no money in the bank. Which I'd like to thank Rich for most of it.
for spending the money or getting new, right?
Getting sponsorship that actually brings in most of the money. Membership, our membership chair isn't here right now. From his report, I can tell you we have about 70 members right now. So we're doing good. And if anybody wants to sign up, like I say, we have the paperwork, we have the paper you can sign up with.
Can I give a home update?
But we can get the chair reports. The only chair that's here right now is the UMSA people, so we'll get the UMSA update from you.
just so that everybody knows, once you start thinking about Secure 360 for next year, you're gonna see that they're gonna raise the price for attendance, a total of $50, which kind of falls in line with their original 3-year plan. But what we've decided as a OMSA board we're going to do is, again, we're trying to drive membership into the affiliates of OMSA, and ISC Squared Twin Cities is one of those, is we're going to increase the discount for being an affiliate and early bird. So last year, if you were an affiliate, a member of an affiliate chapter that was part of OMSA, so if you were an affiliate of this chapter, you had access to the early bird registration code, which saved you $70. So they're gonna update the price by, I think, 25 bucks, I think, total. But as an affiliate, you get a $100 discount now. End of the day for affiliates or members of the affiliate chapters of UMSA, it's negligible to you, right? It's gonna be the same. The main thing is probably a $5 savings. But for those who aren't, they're gonna be paying more. So the goal is to try to drive membership into these chapters. For those that don't know, UMSA is nothing more than an organization run by chapters like this who help make UMSA and Secure 360 go. That makes sense.
Okay. The next screen, we are looking for committee people to help with committees. Right now, because a lot of this stuff Rich did last year, which he really took a lot of it on, starting from what, August? He basically, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. We need 3 board people, and it's basically meeting organizer and location planner. Plan where we're going, what the topics are going to be, always towards the common body of knowledge, because we try to associate ourselves with ISC Squared. Where they are, where our social events, we try to have 4 socials a year and 8 regular meetings. So that, and then help with finding speakers and presenters. Sponsorship chair is somebody that actually helps us generate revenue, gets corporations to sponsor us, either through putting presenters up, which we charge a fee if it's through a corporate sponsor, or sponsoring a social event. And that actually helps the bottom line of this thing, so we're actually able to do something with it rather than just work on our bare minimums. Local education institution outreach. This is one of the things Rich started, and it's basically going out to the local college campuses and presenting to the students there what the secure information security is, and promoting ISC Squared, and trying to get some students to show up. Maybe the time we have the meetings help prevent some of the students coming, because afternoon is not necessarily the time that you can come up with. You know, miss class or miss job if you're a night class person. So, but we're trying to promote ourselves, promote security. So these are the 3 sponsorship chairs. I really would appreciate if somebody actually stood up. We have our meetings mostly planned through the rest of the year. So it's basically planning our meetings from January on next year. And it's basically getting us all together and getting people here. Of course, having
Your first volunteer right there. You stood up when he asked for space.
I think we have a volunteer.
Yeah. Which chairmanship do you want?
None of that.
All of the above.
There we go. But I really would appreciate it if you want to think about it. If we split it up into separate things, it's not going to take you a lot of time each month. If we depend upon one person to do it, it'll burn them out, right, Rich? So we need to have volunteers to keep this organization viable.
How many hours do you think it takes for those hours per month? Like
So
100
the
hours per
lo-
month,
so
2
the lo-
hours?
I mean, a couple hours a month.
So the local education, it's really up to the individual, right?
Yeah.
It's so I was calling the deans, I was calling the directors of career development, right? I was creating,
Vice President.
hey. I was creating, a flyer to post on the wall so that the students, no matter what time they were in the building, right? So John's from the Brooklyn Center location, ITT Tech. I was talking to St. Paul College, Capella College, Century, Minnesota School of Business, right? I tried reaching out to Augsburg and McAllister and Hamlin, and they wouldn't even respond, right? So it's really as much time as you want to put into it, but the goal is, again, just to try to bring awareness of chapter, benefits of attending chapter meetings as a student, right? The networking opportunities, the learning opportunities, and the fact that if you are a student who goes to school at night, you don't have to be here. You could attend remotely. Like, how many do we have now?
Like three,
Still three, right? So we have 3 people who are attending remotely.
And that's pretty good considering, we just put the ad out there about, what, 10, 11?
Yeah, so less than a day ago. So I would say local institution, it's very minimal. Sponsorship chair, if you're in a role where you're working with vendors, this is easy, right? And if I ever had difficulty finding a sponsor, honestly, I would talk to my friend Todd White at Accuvant and say, hey, I need someone to sponsor an event around crypto or identity and access management, or, right, and you go, oh, well, here's 2 people, call them, they'll be happy, right? So that one doesn't take a lot of time. It might be an hour a month. And the meeting organization location, generally they're here. So Lisa, who isn't walking around, but she was around earlier, she's my contact. I just tell her to make sure that she's got the room booked, right? And that's generally it. The only influx is like RSA next month. They want to meet at their location. They're sponsoring it. They're doing the presentation, so we're going to meet at RSA's location here in Eden Prairie. Outside of that, it's generally here, so that's really easy. The hardest part is the socials, trying to figure out which bar we're going to meet at.
Oh yeah, by the way, we are looking for a place downtown for, not next month, the month after.
Right.
Everybody got good candidates for us.
I thought we decided on Elsie.
That's right. Does Elsie sound like a good place
I have
for
no
everybody?
idea.
Elsie's is a great place.
It's
There you go.
Northeast Minneapolis, so it's not downtown parking, it's like real parking.
Right, so you guys are taking care. At the end of the day, this is not a big deal either. So again, it's an hour a month at the most. So if you had 3 people, an hour per person, you'd have this knocked out.
Okay, so, we have any volunteers, that's fine. If you don't, just send a note to the board if you want to volunteer for one of them. We'd really appreciate it. And don't everybody raise their hands at once. One of the things that I didn't bring up, I forgot, was the CISSP study group ended up June 30th.
So,
And we've actually had at least one more person pass now.
What is that, 4? 4 that have taken the test out of the group?
I think it was 4, but 3 passed. Well, I've been through these things before. Study groups start out, 36 people signed up, 24 people showed up, and by the end it was 12 people. And it basically, that's how it goes. It's an awful hard subject. There's a lot to study. So it works, and the fact that we get anybody passing the test, I think we're doing great.
Right.
And we are looking to have another study group this fall. We might be looking for somebody to be a chair of that committee too, but we haven't done all the details down yet.
is that a certification that CPD offers?
No, it's ISC scored certification.
Okay, yes, okay.
CISSP is one of the many. In fact, if you go on their website, you'll see that they're pushing, go take the cloud certification, your annual maintenance fees are waived for the first year, so.
I saw that today.
So I mean,
So
they're
they're
pushing
for
cloud.
cloud certification.
Yeah.
So what's usually the cost of that?
So to take the test, 600?
Yeah.
600.
600? Most employers will cover that if you pass.
Pass, yeah.
So yeah,
And the idea behind what we charged was $100 for basically 13 study sessions that went from 6:30 to 8:45.
Okay.
Every other week for 13 weeks. And
basically covered their food and drink.
Yeah, and that's basically it. Instructors are volunteers.
But there's.
We had one student here. What did you think of it? Did you think it was very worthwhile?
It was very worthwhile.
So I mean,
Got the
I
material,
think
you can go through it on your own, but it's a lot more constructive to have the group to be repeating the information. Some of us got together and studied together outside of the group. It was good.
Awesome.
I think it's, from a standpoint of where it's at, it actually, whether it's there, it forces the people that are in it to study.
Yep.
If you're going to the
Gets it
study
on the
group,
front
you're
burner.
gonna be studying.
Well, I took a 5-day class through Benchmark, right?
I did too.
That was $2,500. And I think a study group would have been just as beneficial as straight 5 days at $2,500.
SANS is 3,000.
Yeah, I did an 8-day and it was $2,800 or something like that, but the test was included and yeah.
So I mean, I think it's worthwhile for the people that aren't certified. And basically, I think we should help sponsor going forward as a group. This is part of our goal is to educate people and expand the security information field. So anyhow, whether it's fall or whether if it works like last year, we pointed towards fall and it started January 13th. But the biggest problem with that one is finding a location.
Are you looking for classroom space or are you looking for just study group space or?
Well, it's study group space and it's usually a classroom. Last year, we got the government, the state of Minnesota to help sponsor us, and we were actually down in the Centennial office building in a conference room setting.
Okay.
Right now, we're looking at, maybe the St. Paul campus at the University of Minnesota, just to bring it a little bit closer to the Minneapolis end. But that's up in the air.
Yeah, I volunteered a place at Hennepin County, but there's some issues because it's downtown, you gotta pay to park.
Sure.
So we'll get with it. Curtis isn't here. He was the other one that was a co-chair. So we're going forward, and as a board and as an organization, we're here to educate and advance the field.
But you can check with both ITT locations and if there's an open classroom.
Biggest problem we ran into with, and from my standpoint, I have a problem with, if a ITT tech or something like that offers their own class, we're kind of in competition with it.
Yeah,
And I don't really like that.
ITT does it, but the center,
Oh, CPD?
yeah,
Oh, screw them. Oh, just kidding. Lisa's not here, right?
she's not.
Anyhow, what's the next slide? I don't remember.
Upcoming events.
Upcoming events. Biggest thing that's out there is a secure, ISC Square is sponsoring a secure Minneapolis 2015. Fact, not FUD, manage what you can measure, security matrix. October 29th, secure Minneapolis in St. Paul.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah, perfect.
8 CPEs. If you're a member, it's free. Otherwise, it's $99. We will be posting this so that you can get the link on our website.
Being a member of ISC squared, is that what they're saying?
If you're a member of ISC squared, if you got a certificate and you pay your annual maintenance fees, you get to go for free.
You gotta pay your membership too? Oh my God.
Hey, annual maintenance fee is $85.
Hey, just remember that certification is giving you about $20,000 a year more, so paying, was it $80 or $100 a year?
He works for the government.
Who cares?
Get your job to pay for
You don't think they pay that, do you?
it.
Because they don't, I assure you.
Anyhow, from the next thing is, if anybody has any jobs available. Do you have jobs available at?
BlueStem Brands has so many stinking jobs available, whether it's IT or InfoSec. Yes, we have a lot of jobs. I think we're looking for at least 2 seniors right now and 1 junior position in InfoSec. IT, it's even more. And we just acquired our biggest competitor, so we went from 1.2 billion to 2.2 billion last Friday. So we're expecting that the department to grow significantly.
Tell me what a senior is. Tell me in
Senior
dollars.
Senior architect, engineer.
What's that in dollars?
I haven't seen the job description, but I would expect that to 80 plus.
Okay.
Like I say,
I've got 2 jobs.
okay, where's your jobs? Bella?
Capella University. I've got 2 security analyst positions open. I think it's a little short.
I just turned down a deluxe job, and that's an IT security, and they were gonna go for 90. So 85 to 90. So,
It all based on what they're asking for, what they want you to do, and how many years experience you've got, and are you certified and all the fun stuff. I mean, we just had someone leave our team to go work for, it's not a Ameriprise, downtown, starts with a J. Piper,
Piper Jaffrey.
making over 100.
So I mean,
So
there's jobs out there, if anybody's looking for.
yeah,
I had somebody
Crazy.
from,
crazy. It's nice.
I get, as president, I get pushed for people that wanna know if we'll publish jobs. Right now, we're not publishing jobs on our website. I always offer them, if they wanna present jobs, to come here. Super Value said they were gonna show up, they didn't. But I know they got security jobs available.
Is the cloud gone? Hey, Super Value was shrinking for quite some time. Is that all over with now?
I have no idea. The other thing, I also, just today, I got an email from somebody from Georgia for looking for people for Mayo Clinic, a headhunter. So there are jobs out there, and you're interested, see the local people here and or apply at those places that you're there. Also, eat the food.
the other thing I was going to say on the job front is I've got a friend who actually lived here for a while and moved to the Boston area. Has been doing some software development, going to class, getting his degree and all that. And he's considering maybe moving into a security role as the next step of his career. But he's out there doing app dev, and he's like, I can't believe what they're paying in Minnesota compared to out here. From both a app dev standpoint and a security standpoint. So
You're paying more out east. Really?
that's not what he's saying. So he's like, I might be moving back by the fall.
On the place, actually, what I've heard, California is where you want to go.
Yeah, good luck.
California or Washington.
Yeah, let's see.
Fire.
But question, all the jobs everyone's talking about, is there anything entry level for like these students finishing up school? Because right now him and I are both in school. So is there stuff out there?
Yeah,
for
I know
entry level?
Target is looking to
There's plenty of entry
bring
level
their
analyst
own.
positions out there that people are screaming for. If you can show that you've at least sat in front of some form of console, whether it's a SIM console, IDS console or something, most definitely. But what I tell everybody is great, get your degree, but you also need to be looking at that certification, right? ISC squared for CISSP, I think it's 5 or 6 years of experience you need now.
No, it's
But you can
5
do the
years,
associate,
or
right?
if you got a 4-year degree, it's 4 years.
But they have an associate degree that
Right.
is the same body of knowledge.
Right.
You can now go apply for those jobs, go, no, I'm not a CISSP, but I am an associate CISSP, or right? I understand the material, the breadth and the depth, I pass the test, you're gonna get a job. That's the easy part.
Yeah, that's an easy sell.
That's a very easy sell.
So the big certification to have is the CISSP for sure.
That's the one, when you look at any job description, that's what they're
If you
asking
don't have
for, or equivalent.
experience.
Every single one that says CISSP.
Or equivalent. So if you get the associate and say, hey, I know the material, I understand it, right? I've got the certification, I just don't have the experience, they'll love to take it.
Of course, I can remember.
Because that means they can pay you
2000.
10 or 12,000 less.
That's where you
But
say,
they'll groom you.
Which is
Gate guards don't
20,000
always-
more without it.
the gate guards don't always know what they're talking about, so they might say they want something and then don't. I remember in 2000, I had somebody that wanted 10 years of Java experience to get the job. And Java was this many years old.
Oh, that's funny.
So, I mean, it's out there, but I think jobs are what we need. I think right now, I think that's it for us. I think it's now put up the other slideshow, and I think we'll hand it off to Rick.
Leach.
Great Rich.
Rick sounds like something else. And
And no one knows picking your mind.
We're online,
It could be looking through Mike's ear, I think, is what you're looking at there. You bringing my deck up?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you see that camera.
I'm doing really good for a guy who's never done this before, so.
So I'm gonna do a DevSecOps presentation. It's gonna be my very first I've ever done. Who's heard of DevSecOps? Raise your hand. 4?
I think
Last week you heard of DevSecOps? Okay.
We sent them an email out to
Well,
everybody
yeah,
last
so
week.
besides an email talking to, who's actually heard of it before? Was it just before? Who's heard of DevOps before? Oh, there you go, right? So I found it interesting.
If you want me to.
You can just say that, right? Many of you heard of DevOps. You know, the goal of DevSecOps is how do we align security into the DevOps world, right? And so what we're going to talk about a little bit is what is that DevOps world, right? Why our standard way of doing security or information security doesn't work in that DevOps process, or what I'll call the highly agile process. And go through kind of what I plan on doing, right? So I've been with BlueStem since December. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've done this and we've got it nailed. Kind of as Agile says, fail many times, succeed many times, right? And that's hard for security people, but we're going to have to get used to that world. We're going to have to start getting comfortable in that world. And so I'm going to just go through some things. The other thing I want to state is part of my deck I actually harvested from a OWASP deck published back in 2008. I actually have the reference slide in here, so you'll see that. That way I'm being forthcoming. I didn't include all of the slides from that deck, but some, and I tweaked some because I didn't necessarily like the language. I thought it was a little outdated. And then I've got some of my own slides. Can we go to the next one? So here, aspect security, that's what I was saying. So here's that slide deck that I took this from. If you actually Google that title, you can get the deck itself. Go to the next one. So the Agile Manifesto, I'm not going to read that, but basically the whole purpose of Agile is we need to be quick, right? When you check in code, you're not checking in 1.5 million lines of code. You're checking in 1,000 lines of code. Maybe it's 200 lines of code. But the goal is you're going to take your code set, you're going to break it up into real small pieces. So when I can have 10 people working on something and they can check in the code, they're not going to affect each other. We can test it quickly, we can develop quickly, If you make a change and it sucks, we can quickly fix that and publish it out to prod. And that don't affect his stuff, because I didn't have to pull his back and his back, right? That's the whole idea behind Agile. The other benefit of Agile is we're pushing updates quickly. We may find that half those updates suck. That's fine, because I can easily pull back those small changes. I can pull them back easily without affecting the other functionality that's working. Right, so the whole idea behind Agile is we're gonna make a lot of changes, we're gonna do it quickly, and this is gonna be life. Right? Go to the next slide. So traits, what you're gonna hear in Agile environments, true Agile environments, is test-driven development. So you create user stories that says the user is going to go to the website and they're going to click my account, and this is what's gonna happen. What then happens is QAs are gonna write test cases. And most of the time, those test cases are gonna be automated. And if that test doesn't pass, you go back to the beginning, right? In the old day of, well, I test, a bunch of stuff failed, that's okay, we kind of keep going in the typical waterfall environment, that doesn't happen anymore. The whole thing stops and goes back to, which again, why they want the changes to be small and happening often, because the stuff can fail without impacting a whole bunch of functionality, right? All the other little sister changes can happen at their own leisure. So test-driven development, simple, small changes, define user stories, and the whole point of Agile is you focus on what the customer wants. If you are talking to sales and like, I need a new field in this app, typically in a waterfall environment, that's one of like 100 requirements that takes 6 months to develop, 3 months to test, another 2 months to roll to production. Well, in that meantime, your customer's sitting there going, man, I've got a lot more requirements, right? But I can't do anything because I've got this big barge flowing through the stream. Agile says, no, it's going to be a bunch of little stuff. So when Mike says, well, I need this new field, I need a new report, I need to change our header, I need to change our login process, I want to change our product. All those can be smaller changes that happen very quickly. So at the end of the day, your customer gets more functionality and quicker. Go ahead. I generally like this statement, right? The goal of information security, right? We're trying to ensure that things are happening the right way. We're trying to get some form of assurance that we're as safe as possible, right? So if we start off with that as our goal, we ask the question, then can Agile do that? And the answer, I think, is yes. So when we talk about DevSecOps, what we're really doing is looking at security through a development lens, right? I've already talked about waterfall and I've talked about Agile, which are development terms. But we as security professionals, particularly if we're working for a company who is Agile or going Agile, you got to start thinking, then how do we do security in that way, right? How do we do our stuff quick, right? There's no more of 3 weeks of discussions to talk requirements. Not our company today, we do weekly releases. If I want to spend 3 weeks talking about requirements, my requirements are going to be outdated because they will have done 3 releases by the time I finish my requirements doc, right? That doesn't work anymore. Heck, having a meeting for 3 days in a row doesn't work, right? When we talk requirements, it's one meeting. It's usually a half hour long at the most. And even that is seen as being kind of contentious and breaking their ways, right? Testing and validation takes a long time, right? And the typical waterfall, it takes a long time. It takes a long time to define requirements, it takes a long time to build all these requirements, and it takes a whole long time to test. And then what happens if we find out it doesn't work? We're 6 months in, 8 months in. Doesn't really work well. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time to fix it. Agile shops are needing to change how security is integrated. If we want to be part of the process, if we want security testing to occur, if we want to do it in a time frame that means something to the developers, we have to be as quick as they are. But that's hard, right? For our business today, it takes 24 hours to do a barcode scan of our full app. Well, what good is that to the developer who spent 30 minutes making a code change at 8 o'clock, finished at 8:30, checked the code in, and now they will create the compiled code tonight. We'll upload the code, and 24 hours from then, we'll have complete results. So now I'm 2 days later from the time that developer just checked code, and I'm gonna tell them they did something wrong. Is that helpful? That's not helpful at all. Developers going, I just did 3 other releases. You want me to go backwards and go look at something from 2 days ago? I've done so many things since then that that's not helpful, right? But so waterfall security, kind of starting through that again. You know, we build requirements, we validate the specs. There's some type of architecture review, coding, there's code reviews that kind of happen somewhere in there. App vulnerability tests and external security assessments, right? This is a very long, none of this is fast. How's a typical pen test take? Anybody? How long's a pen test take? At least 5 days. If you're after big, it's 10. Well, again, in my environment, I just did 2 releases in that 10 days. I can't take that long, it doesn't work. Right, it just doesn't. By the time I finish the pen test, the code's changed, and I probably just screwed up the pen tester anyway. Right? So this is all very, what I will say, old school, old environment, and doesn't work. And if this is your security frame of mind, you're not going to perform well in an agile shop. You're not. You're going to be seen as a hindrance. You're going to be seen as a roadblock. And if the developers are using those terminology about you and your environment, there's a C-level hearing that terminology about you and your environment, and they're not going to have you around for very long because you're not helpful, right? Our job is to enable business, but keep them secure. Our job is not to hamper the business. But so, kind of an example, current state of waterfall security, right? We have, can't read that, but we have developers developing the IDE, right? Visual Studio, IntelliJ, there's all kinds of IDEs that they're programming in. They upload their code to Git. You got Jenkins on the back end doing some type of build. Jenkins moves that code to QA. QA does some testing, moves it to stage, moves it to prod, and then at the end of the day, we run some big barcode scan or some type of pen test. Or we do a pen test once a year, right? How secure is your code if you're only doing a pen test once a year? You have no idea. Right?
It's not secure 364 days.
It's not secure in 365 either. You just know more than you did 364 days ago, right? So again, I'd say this is the old school way of doing things, right? But this is, let's be honest, there weren't tools that helped us do things faster. There weren't things to help us. You go to the next one though. So this is one of the OAuth slides. Go past this one if you could. Go past this one. Keep going, because there's one I want to get to. We'll come back to these if we need to. Keep going. I know I've got one in there. Mike, did you delete my deck? Skipped it. No, keep going. Keep going. See, I got their stuff and my stuff. Here's my kind of example desired state. So let's go back through this. So one, so in my example, I'm using Visual Studio as the IDE, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing. We got the developer coding in the IDE, but as soon as that coder is done coding, we should have a tool enabling that IDE where they can click a button and it does a scan of that code. Remember, that code isn't 200,000, a million lines long, right? This is agile development, small chunks. So get them a static code scan tool in the IDE that'll scan the code right there. Right? Now the developer clicks a button and less 5 minutes later they have their results. Right? Oh crap, I just built in 2 SQL injection and 1 cross-site request forwarder. How beneficial is it to the organization to have that response to them there and they can go fix it? That's huge, right? We don't have that today in the old methods, but there are tools today, and we'll talk about them, that can allow you to do that, right? So now, coder just made some coding changes. They just did a scan, they got their results, and now they fixed it, right? They're not allowed to check the code in until that code's clean. They do that. Git, TFS, whatever you're using, right now has that code. Jenkins or whatever you're using and interacts with that and says, hey, we're gonna compile that code. Now, what you can have is at the end of the night, Jenkins can kick off an automated scan, right? Error code's got it, Checkmarks has it, there's lots of tools, but you can scan the full code, right? You can do that overnight. You could potentially do partial. White Hat Security, as an example, can do differentials, right? You compile your whole war, but they'll only look at this much because that's what changed. I don't need to look at everything else. We've already scanned it before. That's kind of cool, and it's fast. Jenkins now moves that code into some type of Docker container. Who's familiar with Docker? If you're not familiar with Docker, what it is, it creates a bunch of little VMs, right? So developer A checks in some code, Jenkins gets it, builds a war, puts it to a Docker, QA can start testing that. Developer B checks in code. Well, now that's a different Docker, right? So you can have different QA teams testing different versions of the app based on the changes that are in it, right? So I don't have to test 50 use cases. I'm testing the 5 because that's all that there were for that one developer and the changes that they were assigned, right? So now my testing is different. It's faster. So Jenkins moves it to Docker. Now part of here, to be really in Agile from a security standpoint, when your product owner, your business owner, whoever is saying, these are my requirements, someone's translating that into what they call user stories. And if anybody's familiar with Jenkins, you create a bunch of stories, right? Why aren't we creating security-based user stories, right? When a user closes the browser, we should end the session. When the user has done nothing, there's no activity for 15 minutes, we should automatically log them up. We should be creating stories that then are applied to every release those developers do. So if someone decides to do something with authentication, we now have a story that addresses some of their requirements, right? We're not spending 2 weeks to have a conversation about those requirements. That in most cases are just a regurgitation of everything we've ever talked about before, right? I have that addressed in the user stories. So Jenkins, what do I have here? Oh, so at the same time when Jenkins moves that stuff, the code to QA, guess what? Jenkins can initiate some type of dynamic scan. There are all kinds of tools out there to do application fuzzing, TLS verification, right? You can have a user story that says, user comes to our site, it has to go across TLS 1.2. We're a PCI mandated organization. PCI 3.1 says that we must be 1.2 for all new implementations, right? Thou shalt, right? So now I have a user story that says that. And I can now kick off a bunch of automated tests. When you're in an agile environment, most of the testing is automated. They've got a tool, they're taking those user stories, plugging them in, and it's a yes, no, right? The test either passes or it fails. And in most cases, the pass and fail will determine whether it goes to the next step or not. In our environment, test-driven development, if those automated tests that the QA is building don't pass, goes right back to the developer, right? Geez, I hit log off and log off actually didn't log me off. That goes back to the developer. Well, our test should do the same, right? If we say there's a use story that says TLS 1.2 has to be used and turns out TLS 1.0 can be used or SSL, we have a problem. So implement DAST, Nessus, Metasploit, and other app fuzzing testing, right? There's a whole bunch of them. One thing I'm going to tell you too from a agile security standpoint is I don't know about the rest of you, but me, we always said don't go to shareware.com. We don't do open source. We don't do. Well, look at the agile environments. They're running Linux. They're running Git. They're running Jenkins, right? That's all open source. right? So how are you as a security professional, if there aren't a lot of enterprise tools available to you, how are you gonna start putting your security testing into this process? You're gonna have to find open source stuff. You're gonna have to find communities where they're developing security tools to do stuff. Now, while I say that's true, I think the enterprise vendors are starting to get it. I was at RSA talking with Veracode, and I kind of gave them the riot act, because at RSA, the first day, Monday, was all DevOps. A lot of people talking about putting security in the DevOps process, and no one could speak tools. And if they did speak, who's heard of Brakeman? Anybody heard of Brakeman? Every presentation, someone brought up Brakeman. I finally had time, opened my laptop, Googled Brakeman. It's a kind of a app fuzzing kind of security testing tool for a Ruby shop. I'm not a Ruby shop, so does Brakeman help me whatsoever? Absolutely not. I was so dejected when I found that the one tool anyone talked about was one that means nothing to me. I was so frustrated. So anyway, so Jenkins starts moving stuff to prod. So the other thing that you do is through all those tests, right? What happens if they fail? We cut a ticket, right? Generally, that's a manual process. Someone in QA is going in someplace and trying to create a ticket or entering a bug, or, well, that should be automated too. All your tools should be slapping that back into your bug tracking system, right? Whether that's TFS, whether that's Jira. A lot of shops in Agile world use Jira.
The question, if you're saying most of the tools are open source, is OWASP your main source of finding them, or do you go to GitHub, or what?
You have to research. What I'm going to tell you right now is the whole DevSecOps is very new. The tooling isn't mature, and there isn't a lot out there, so you've got to search for it. And what I'll also tell you is if you're a security organization and an organization that's being highly agile, you better have scripters on staff, right? That's one thing that BlueStem has came out of the RSA conference. We realized is we need to start getting some good scripters on our SOC team, because some of the stuff people are building on their own, right? They're taking the open source stuff and then they're actually maturing the immature tools themselves, working with development to script this stuff up. Well, guess what? A lot of SOC teams don't have scripting. They just don't, right? They got people who can sit in front of these consoles and are really good at monitoring and really good at checking tickets and really good at doing the stuff, but scripting isn't one of them. Okay. Yeah. So here's an example from the OWASP deck of example of using Agile to solve cross-site scripting. What are the risks associated with cross-site scripting? Likelihood, impact of those risks, who's affected. You use that to then write your stories, right? What risk are we trying to mitigate around cross-site scripting? You create stories around it. Those stories then tell the developers what they need to address, right? What type of controls required, address the stories. Then it's QA's job to make sure that either in an automated or a manual fashion, I would state it's probably an 80-20 rule in most shops today. 80% of their testing is manual, 20% is 80% is automated, 20% is manual, right? But it's your job to make sure that those test cases exist. And I would state it's your job to validate that they're there, right? What I see in the DevSecOps world or this DevOps world with security, right? We move from a thou shalt role to a, I'm gonna validate you did it the way that we've discussed it, right? I'm gonna validate you did it right. I'm not gonna stand on the mountain and shake my finger and say thou shalt. I'm gonna put some user stories, I'm gonna work in your process, and I'm just gonna validate you did it right. And then, yes, you can have multiple stories be implemented in the same sprint. So there are standard controls, right? You still have to have some basics, right? Some agreed upon basics, security control basics that have to exist. But again, I don't think that's a Word document sitting out in a file share. It's not a Word document sitting out in SharePoint, right? It's not something I send out quarterly to remind everybody that thou shalt, right? This is in user stories. Yeah.
Rich, give us an example of a control, a standard control.
Okay, when when a user is on our website and they have less than 15 minutes of or they have more than, or they have 15 minutes or more of inactivity, the website is going to log out. When a user connects to our website, we're going to use that connection will be protected TLS 1.2. When a user of our site is shopping, they are not prompted with any form of authentication. But when that user chooses to go to my account, we are going to prompt them for these types of authentication methods.
Okay. Where my mind was going with this is Active Directory, what do you call it, compliance or inclusion in Active Directory.
Integration with AD?
Integration with AD. You're coming from the internet as a customer side, and I was more.
So let's think of it as a website. So let's just say that maybe your project is a web-based application internal to the organization. It's not external facing. Right.
Okay.
User goes to said website. When they are prompted to authenticate, they need to input their Active Directory credentials. They need to put in their Active Directory credentials and their two-factor token, right? Whatever right.
That control is.
Right. So it's taking that requirement and say, what does that requirement look at from a user of this application, right? That's really what you're doing, and writing the requirements that way. But it's not just writing them in that way, it's also doing, look what you're doing. You have now moved into their tooling. You have now moved into their process. You're not a roadblock going, yeah, you like using Jenkins and you like using Jira and you like using Git, but you're gonna go to SharePoint to look at my requirements doc, right? That's painful to them. Or you're gonna schedule a 90-minute meeting with me and we're gonna talk about all the requirements for your project, right? That's painful to them. You're not a pain anymore if you're doing it the same user stories in the same place they're doing it. If you're integrating your security testing tools into the same automated tooling that they've got, your bugs and findings are going straight into their same bug and findings tool, right? You're now coming alongside and saying, let's do this together. You're not telling a QA, hey, I need you to write 25 stories for me. No, you're going and writing 25 stories, right? At our organization, I just wrote my first user story. It was awesome. Had a meeting on it because they were doing, they're kind of going through all the user stories and what are they including in next week's release. Guess what? I'm at the top of the list. It was awesome, right? And it's not painful for them anymore. So WASP has some stuff that's actually kind of cool. They got some APIs. They've got some security-based user test cases. Stakeholder security stories, test cases, role-based guidance around roles if that impacts your application. Can you go to the next one? So, the kind of summary, security and agile. As we started, the goal of security is to try to get some form of assurance, right? To be able to go to management and say, we have assurance that this application is secure, right? This process is secure. Our old way really didn't do that, right? Or it did eventually, 6 to 9 months later when that product went live and we got our pen test completed and we got our static code scan completed because we did that quarterly and right? Guess what? Now we're doing everything real time along with the process. And there's other things you can do. If your environment chooses to, so one thing that the really agile shops like the Spotifys of the world, what they're doing is when they create that Docker container of the code, they're also putting their Linux image in there. And so what they do is that when the code moves along the process, they move that Linux image with it. Right, so when they get to prod, they never have a software versus OS versus Apache Tomcat issue because they've been testing. They never had to worry about differences between QA and prod. Right? Who's ever had issues between QA and prod before? Because they weren't actually, right? They were never configured identically. They were close. But that difference caused a problem when I tried to push that code into production. Something broke. Well, how do they fix that? They start, what you see in a lot of companies do is they move the code with the OS and the Apache and everything else. The whole environment moves along with, because it's just a VM, right? Now when you're testing, you know it's going to work by the time it hits production because I've been testing in 2 different environments, that same version of OS, that same Apache level, same everything. I don't have to worry about a Java upgrade occurring. That didn't occur in here without me testing it first, right? Now imagine doing that. Well, guess what? There are some, if you're a Qualis shop, if you're an Expose shop, you can start actually testing that environment through the process too in an automated fashion. You can start validating it by the time you hit production. My code has been scanned. My OS hardening has been tested. My Apache firewall has been tested. I mean, from a security standpoint, you're doing with each release in an environment like that what it takes some of us over a year to do because we only pen test once a year and we only, right? Imagine having that with every release. That's like security nirvana. You know what I mean? So in the past, traditional kind of old school way, you know, assurance came because, you know, the security expert did these reviews in these different stages of development that took a long time. In Agile, we're doing it along with them with each little release. There are companies that are doing 25 releases a day. I think Amazon, have you ever heard the number from Amazon?
No, I think it's higher than that.
It is higher than that.
Yeah.
Or Google.
It's over.
Yeah.
I think the last number I saw for Amazon is they have the capacity to do over 1,000 builds a day. I'm sorry, 1,000 releases a day.
So imagine working for a company that's doing 1,000 releases a day, and how are you building security into that if you're using your old ways? You're not. You're not. This is the only way to make sure you're doing your job in an environment like that. And you're seen as you're an enabling business. You're not. Now, if you create a user story that says, no matter what the user's doing, time out the website in 3 minutes, yeah, all right, you're hindering business, that's shame on you, right? But generally, no, you should be fine.
Are attackers gonna get insight into these processes if they understand what kinds of security things are harder to test in an automated fashion, focus their attacks in that space?
Well, I would state this, right? Again, QA is in charge of the testing, right? So we're, as much as possible, we want to integrate into the automated, right? So I don't have to worry about them figuring out what's harder or not. Now, it is a process, right? But I would state today, if you're doing pen testing once a year and you're checking your code scans on a quarterly basis,
Yeah,
you're going to be in a hell of a lot better position going down this path and finding tools to integrate.
because it's a 90% solution for where you are right now.
Right, right. You want the next one? So some of the benefits, right? You're talking the same language, right? The term requirements don't sit well in an agile environment. They don't like that term. You're smiling. That's right. They don't, right? They want to hear user stories, right? You're using their tools and their processes. You're not seen as a hindrance. You're not forcing them to get out of their comfort zone that they would do for anybody else. If the business comes up and says, I want X, Y, and Z widget, these are the processes they're going to use, right? So now your requirements or your needs from a security standpoint aren't seen as any differently by them. Test-driven development. If the test passes, great. If the test fails, start back at the beginning, right? You don't have to worry about someone choosing not to fix something, pushing it through to prod anyway, because that doesn't work that way. I see it as increased security. I mean, if you're doing code scans once a month, once a quarter, once a year, you're doing pen tests once a year generally, maybe semi-annual at the most. Long periods of time without having a clue where you're at, whereas here, you're gonna have that knowledge with each release. Now, maybe you're not doing weekly releases, maybe you're doing monthly. Monthly is still better than quarterly or annually, right? And then greater cooperation, right?
Doesn't it depend on how quickly your enterprise evolves? I look at the county and it moves, but it's relatively slow compared to other things.
I would agree, right? So you're not gonna be leading the agile effort, but if you've thought about it and you've got a plan, such that when they could bring you in and say, hey, we wanna move agile, and you're like, great. You know, what code repository are you gonna use? What automation tools are you gonna use? What automated testing tools are you gonna use? They're gonna go, what? Right? And go, hey, I've got some tools that work great with that one.
I think even if you aren't going agile, the more you can speak their language, the better off you're gonna be and the happier the relationship will be.
Yep. They're gonna see you as a partner if you're speaking their language. Right? And if you support an agile, wow, imagine being a security professional in an organization going from waterfall to agile, and you support it.
What planet are you from?
Yeah.
Right.
You mean I don't have to save the world every day?
No.
Just today.
Well, I did today.
But I think the other benefit of this is you're creating an environment where it's really on them, right? And you're basically saying, you're smart people, you understand our processes, you understand the stories, right? You understand all this. So now I'm not gonna be sitting there lording it over you anymore. I'm gonna move into the insurance. Just make sure you didn't forget.
Oh, oops, I'm sorry. No, I screwed up. What has to be about?
It's got some thinking man. Isn't that thinking man?
Oh, I got it. Should have
Fall
passed
asleep
it.
with your hand on the key.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity.
Try that.
Yeah, so go to the next one.
Again.
So you can't see these, but this will be in the deck that gets put out on the website, right? But what I did is, so when I was at RSA, I complained a lot about the lack of tooling that actually was beneficial to anyone. And they ended up having, so Monday was a full day, and I think every day they had no less than 4 to 6 sessions on DevOps. It was so overkill, it was disgusting. But I kept going because each person would talk about one tool. And once I realized I was getting at least one tool out of these, I started pulling it together. But I could talk through these. So find bugs. Your teams may be using that already. What it does, it kind of does a code quality, right? But there are a small number of security-related checks that it does do. I would state that's still better than nothing. And it connects into their IDE, right? So right there in their development tool, it can give them some feedback as to their code quality. I think that's a good thing, right? What I will tell you is at BlueStem, we did compare its results to like those we were getting from Barricode and taking SQL injection as an example. Completely different results.
Why?
FindBugs is not a security tool per se. It is a development tool for code quality that has some security stuff to it, right? So it's kind of like using a stick as a shoehorn. It works, unless it's built for that, right? But I think that's okay, right? Because it doesn't impact them too much. Let's see, there's another GitHub one, but Metasploit and Expose, Nessus can all be integrated into a lot of the DevOps tooling today. Mitten, M-I-T-T-N, you'll see that out in GitHub. Someone's got some Burp Suite, TLS config, and API fuzzing. W3AF, I believe it is, .org, kind of web app attack and audit framework. Haven't used this one yet, but it's one that was listed, and there's some good comments on it, so I took note of it. I'm going to look into it. When I came back, the first thing I did is I sent this over to our lead QA, and I said, what are your thoughts? I want you to look through these and give me your thoughts. Do you think any of these could be integrated into our QA testing? They looked at me weird, like, who are you? But that was kind of cool. BDD-security. So it's kind of security-based user stories. OWASP, the Z attack proxy. So OWASP has got a lot of stuff that most of us don't even know exists. There's a lot out there. And then they actually have one here. It's a password vaulting tool that can be integrated with Git. Who knew, huh? You know those developers have passwords being stored someplace. You hope it's not under the keyboard. Hopefully not in a dock on their Macs.
No, it's in clear text and it can fit.
But this is kind of cool, right? Password vaulting tool integrated with Git. Right?
Open source?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Vault. So it's hashcorp.com.
HashCorp?
Hashcorp.
HashiCorp.
HashiCorp. Hash-E with an I.
And you left out DirtBuster there.
I did leave out DirtBuster. This will go out, right? And I'm not even saying that these are the same. No, I'll tell you our experience so far. We run IntelliJ as the IDE. And there's only one company on the planet that apparently makes a IDE plugin for IntelliJ, and that's Checkmarks. We're talking with Checkmarks. If you're a Veracode shop, you're going to puke when you see the pricing coming out of Checkmarks, right? It's very unfriendly. But Veracode is moving that direction. Supposedly by December, they're going to have a IntelliJ plugin, which I think is good. I've started doing some user stories, right? I got my first one in. QA is in the transition of automated tooling from one tool to another. So in 2 weeks, I've got a meeting set up to go through the user stories and the interface. They're going to get me access so I can look through the user stories. Not the user stories, I'm sorry, the automated testing. So what type of automated test? Do we test login? Do we test positive and negative tests, right? What happens if I don't put the right password in, right? But I'm going to be able to review that, and I'm going to be able to work with them if I don't think they have enough of them, right? Maybe they don't test TLS. Well, we need to. PCI says we have to. So, maybe that's one. But I'll be able to work with them to create some automated testing, right? And that's just with the general testing. Then I've got a set of tools here that I want to integrate in, right? So how do we get, so we're a Nexpose shop. Well, how do I get Metasploit? We have Metasploit for free. How do I get that integrated in so we can do some testing at night? Give me a Docker container to hit, and I just want to test it. Right? Shouldn't be a problem. Well, great. Now that that's done, I want to get this Minton thing going. What do you guys think of Minton? Minton? Oh, we can try it. Perfect. Let's try it. What I don't want to do is take their automated testing and make it, 20 hours and make it or let's say it's 6 hours. I don't make it go from 6 to 18, right? I'm not trying to double their QA time, right? I want it to get done in the same amount of time. I just need a separate space to do that. So I'm going to work with them on that. So if I can get an IDE plugin, so I'm doing static code testing with every check-in. I can run it at night, have Jenkins kick that off, run that at night. I can run these automated tests in there. I can start getting Nexpose tests in there once we're moving the environment with, right? I don't need to worry about that today. If we're not, if we're just moving code and not the Java environment, I don't need to worry about it. But when we do, I've got tools that integrate in, right? And I'm going to be a lot more secure than it was before we started the process. And I'm going to have developers who see me as a friend, a compadre, a peer, right? Versus that security guy who makes me do stuff that I don't like to do, like attend meetings and open up Excel spreadsheets and go to SharePoint. I don't like that. Yeah.
All right.
That might be it.
I think
Yeah, so any questions? Thoughts? Yes, sir.
In the organization, and some of these roles end up blending when people are doing Agile, but the developers, the QA people, and configuration management, kind of managing the tools that are on the middle there.
Right.
Do you then, as a security manager, have representation in all three of those groups to hold up this process?
So I've already gotten agreement, written and verbal, from the teams to make this work, right? So they've been saying for a long time that, well, if you guys just worked with our processes, right, we'd make this thing work. Well, guess what? Someone's actually standing up saying, okay. So now they're having to go, oh shit.
Now we gotta make it work.
Crappy. He agreed. Right. So that's where the biggest rub is, right? DevOps is fine, right? They're the operation side of the house, the config, the environment side of the house, they're fine. Whatever. Developers are saying the same thing, and QA saying the same thing. So, yeah. Yeah.
It just seems like you need more security trained people in every part of the organization then.
No.
No?
Because you're integrating the security requirements into their processes.
Okay.
And you've moved out of having to meet with everybody, tell them what to do, to I'm just going to validate that you're doing it.
Yeah, and moved away from the team of experts approach. Which you
Correct.
mentioned earlier.
Right.
And if
Now
they
the expertise is built into the system.
if
Right.
the tests keep failing, eventually they'll start writing better code.
It's true, right? I mean, if they move from weekly releases to once every 3 weeks because their code fails on all these security tests, no one's going to come back and go, well, you got to get rid of the security test. No one's going to do that. Someone's going, why do you keep writing SQL injection into the code? Well, we need training. Well, guess what? I provided you training last year. And according to records, you took it. Oh. Right? I think that's where some of the benefit comes, because we have moved away, we're moving away from the thou shalt to the, we're going to produce metrics.
Right.
Right?
Which gets rid of all of the kind of
Shame and blame and pointing the fingers and the confrontation.
It removes having to say no.
yeah, and half-baked lip service to security that says, yeah, we do all those things and we don't really do them.
Right. To, I produce metrics now.
Hey, there's our volunteer. I'm volunteering. I'm going to drop off some of my business cards. I'm the Director of Career Services, as Rich said. I'm kind of helping out here in Eden Prairie as well while we find a new person. So if you guys hear about job opportunities that our students might be eligible for, you can just shoot me an email, give me a call. That would be great, and I'll pass it on to the students.
So
That's
BlueStem's looking, Capella's looking, and who else is looking?
Deluxe.
Deluxe is looking,
Target's got a bunch.
Target's
Target
looking.
has-
Wells Fargo, I've heard, has got a bunch.
But not for.
Super Value and Mayo Clinic.
Super Value and Mayo Clinic.
Did you catch all those?
I did. Wells
Make sure
Fargo,
you send them,
BlueStem.
yeah, make sure you send them
Deluxe.
BlueStem first.
He's got dibs.
I started the relationship, yes, I should have dibs.
Yeah, Rich just dropped off at our door. Hi, I'm Rich Rhodes. How are you? Like, who are you?
Exactly.
It's a way.
Hey, but at least we got 2 students this time.
There you go. That's awesome.
Better than zero.
That's
Better
right.
than zero.
It's 200% more than last meeting. All right, thank
Awesome.
you all very much. I
Thanks.
didn't understand the last 45 minutes on
No,
that.
you're fine. Thanks. So, to your point, right? Again, the whole point in Agile is to work in the process to help define those requirements in the storage, right? Help work with them to set up the tooling. And at that point, you become the metrics master, right? And you're grading the stuff, we come to agreement, I'm gonna send the stuff out, right? And now when senior leadership starts to see that our application maturity is going this way instead of this way, it's not for me to answer to. Why did you add, 25 cross-site scripting and SQL injection flaws into our code the past 3? Someone else will answer that question. I don't have to. And no one can go, well, it's security's fault because they, won't work in our process, or they won't tell us what they need, or what the requirements are. It's like, no, it's there.
How do you think you got caught?
Right. It is, and it's in your process and the language you want to consume. Right?
So within the agile culture that you're living in, are
Yep.
you product driven or project driven or both?
It is product driven 99%.
And is security viewed as just another element within the products that are being generated?
Today, no,
Or is
but
it its
I'm
own?
starting to work with the product management team to say, hey, you own the site, right? So I'm gonna come to you, right? So I'm talking to them now, right, as we're beginning this, so, hey, we've already got reports and we've got results, and, right, I go to developers who say, hey, all my work is being driven by that. Well, great, I'm gonna go to them. So I'm working with them now and say, hey, what do you wanna do with these? By the way, here's the link to the website where we're publishing, and it's open to the whole company.
Can you really do an agile presentation without talking about the chaos monkey?
Yes, I chose to not talk about that.
And so I'm gonna ask the question, are you using your own chaos monkeys?
We are not today. Anybody know what Chaos Monkey is? So it's, who wrote the tool?
Netflix.
Yeah, so they built their own tool to basically go into their environment and cause havoc. Shut down servers, shut down load balancers, shut down
Turn off a network
processes.
adapter.
Yeah, just all kinds of stuff. And
Put a
basically-
database into single user
Well,
mode.
what they did is they used it to show development and IT that this is not as strong as an environment, right? And so by having this thing running all the time and causing havoc, they learned then how to harden their environment in such a way that it could withstand a database failover or a NIC drop or a packet loss or whatever, right? Just because that happens doesn't mean your application has to fail, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Detect the problem, move on.
Right.
Sounds really.
Detect and adapt. We're right, but they did that.
So also there's a lot of things
So
like grading gracefully. So for instance, if the system that has suggested movies is down, it just bypasses that and gives you, the results without those suggestions. So
Right.
trying to shed function that if it's not working, continue to produce a page.
Right,
Right.
continue to provide business value.
Yeah.
For whatever it is.
Right. And let's be honest, most of our applications, if that one thing isn't there, and there's probably thousands of those one things, it fails and shoots all over, right?
We've all seen it.
So admittedly, I didn't know much about your company, so I had to go grab my phone and look it up a little bit. But a lot of companies have a lot of security practitioners that are really tuned in on appliances. Are you finding that with application resiliency and agile methodologies that you can start to throw some of those redundant appliances that you've paid a lot of good money for out the door? Or are you trying to figure out ways to integrate your security appliances into your development life cycle?
Well, I think BlueStem has taken the mindset that, in today's day and age, right, we're never gonna have enough analysts and whatever to be able to run all the consoles and everything else. So we try to outsource. We use service providers, right? Most of them that are out there do a fairly good job, and there are some who do a great job, right? So instead of beating our head against the wall, but why can't we find 4 more junior analysts, right? I don't need 4 more people to stare at logs. I can have a SIM do that. Guess what? I don't need to have 2 people sitting here staring at the SIM all day. I can pay a third party. So we're doing a lot more of that, right? Now you just need one person to work with the provider and make sure they're doing it.
Are your SIMs appliance based today? It's all software.
Those are apps, those are IDS, those. Yep. Do you remember when Phil Reno, it must have been almost 18 months ago. Phil Reno at the time worked at BlueStem, gave a great DDoS presentation.
Yes.
And he at the time was the manager of our SOC. He has since moved on. But in that presentation, he talked about kind of the software-based model that we run. So I don't even know if it's on the website anymore. Anyway, it was a pretty good job.
He talked to ISSA too.
Did he?
Similar time frame.
Yeah, awesome.
Phil
Reno. I think he's at Polaris now. But any other questions? Was this helpful at all?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I'm trying to get my head around a way to phrase this, having not been terribly familiar with Agile. But is there a class of attacks or failures that if you code test by small sections, when you put all the sections together, you can push something through that meets all the user stories that breaks the system?
Well, but again, you're not just relying on the testing of individual pieces, right? So yes, you're testing the individual pieces upon code check-in, then it moves in, and then as soon as it moves to QA, well, guess what? You can run the full war, right, the full app at that point. I can have that take 24 hours in the background, right? That's fine, right? I have a high degree of confidence I'm not going to find much, right? And if I find something, it's going to be small, and based on the way things work today, I'm okay if that doesn't get into the next release, because I've got to release them next week, right? So as long as we get it into their bug tracking tool right away and it's its priority that way, I'm fine. Because again, it's better than the way it's working today. So, you know, the reality is again, we run static code scans once a month. Guess what? There's lots of findings. Guess what? They've moved long beyond any areas of that application. And so it takes longer than that to get that addressed today. I need to fix that. And they're open. They're open to doing the right thing, right? Developers don't want to be bad, right? They're not working for you to be a hacker. They want to do the right thing. They just want you to do it in a way that aligns with all the other work that they do. Yeah.
So part of your use case would, for testing for SQL or for cross-site, when you're doing, you'd have to encode, use different encoding, try it at 64 or a hybrid of 64 and another type of encoding. Because it's not just test for, when you're saying test for SQL, test for cross-site, it's not just in text or.
No, it's not like that.
It's all the different
right.
base encoding. I mean, is that what you would require that
I
they
would
do?
say that your user story says, okay, if you're really trying to address cross-site scripting or SQL injection, right? What is the real problem there, right? You're trying to do some validation. We need to do validation on that input prior, right? So when a user is on our website and they go to field A, right? No matter what is input, we need to make sure or that input should be validated or verified prior to release.
And the fuzzing tool should incorporate all the different
All the
encoding
different
possibilities.
scenarios,
So
okay.
if you're trying to do path traversal or something
because it'd
like that,
be
it's
crazy.
gonna use forward slashes, backslashes.
Right, because that's the other thing, is you can't have 2,000 user stories that your developers have to encode, right?
Right.
So that's where you go, okay, do I really need a story for that, or do I have a tool that can address that?
Oh, I see,
Right.
okay. Yeah.
And again, they start getting hit and their stuff ends up getting rejected because it failed all the time, right? They're really bad at cross-site scripting or sequence.
I know Web Inspect years ago was talking about an ID, HP Fortify or whatever. I don't know what they've done.
Here's what I also think is cool. I wonder if these markers work. So we've, whether it's your waterfall or agile today, right? You end up getting a pool of findings, right? That end up going back and get created as bugs. If you paid attention to the marketplace, right, with WAF, with the new age WAFs these days, they can take these findings and if you push it to the WAF will block those. In these 3 pages, you have cross-site scripting errors. Well, now your WAF will block it based on those findings, right?
Awesome.
You just need to
That's
make sure-
automatic too?
It can be.
Oh.
But your WAF has to work with wherever these findings are coming out of, right? So GAST or dynamic application security testing, right? Dynamic testing. So I think F5 supports 4 different DAST solutions only, right? So whatever you're using for a WAF, you need to make sure that they can support this stuff, right? But I think that's an additional layer of security, right? None of these developers do anything, right? These findings are going to create the stories, they're going to fix them hopefully at the next release. In the meantime, my WAF is now going to block it.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I know I'm not running through development like there's a fire saying you got to fix this because we now have a high sitting out there, right? It's like, yeah, I do, I've heard you use store, you're gonna fix it next week, in the meantime, we're gonna block it. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Just as a reminder, take the food and water as much as you can.
Okay.
Whatever you don't take, we're gonna donate to the students.
They need it.
Next month.
I don't think the Rice Krispies will last that long.
It'll be a little.
But anyhow, whatever you wanna take, you can take.
My things are due today.
I'll be
Well,
along directly.
Anyhow.
Wait a little bit
Oh,
longer.
how much are they? 20?
A lot.
You can put your
IC number on the bottom, that picture.
Long week.
You do that because.
Other than that, thanks everybody for coming.
Yeah, I'm a goodie too.
See you next month.
Matt said you were.
RSA.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, Will second.
I don't know when my.